hello, and welcome to Exhale into Life with Regina. When Regina speaks, everybody listen. You are joining us from WJZZ station, live streaming, and we are live streaming on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and all other social media outlets, and I'm sorry, YouTube. You can like, comment, share, and what's the other one?
Subscribe,
And
honey.
subscribe. Yes. Please like and share and subscribe and comment. We are so grateful that you are here today. I have two wonderful guests with me. And it's so exciting to be here on this Friday from 4 to 6, every Friday from 4 to 6. I join you. And I didn't do my favorite thing that I love to do, which is I ask the audience and you guys to exhale on a count of
Okay.
three. One, two, three. Exhale. Mike, that was really terrible.
He said, huh.
Yeah, that was just right.
I get up every morning.
More of a huff.
That's my
And then exhale.
To exhale. That's right. So we have to exhale into life. And this is a wonderful day to actually do it. The sun is shining. It's a little breezy, but it's really nice. And I'm hoping that the weather is definitely changing for us. Well, this is definitely Mental Health Month. May is Mental Health Month. And I wanted to get into the discussion a little for us in just discussing what is mental health. And I'm inviting my guests as well into the discussion. And then I'm going to introduce them and we're going to talk more about what they do. So the definition of mental health is it's about how we think, feel, and act. It helps us to handle stress, relate to others, and make good judgment and good choices. Just like we take care of our bodies, we have to take care of our feelings and our thoughts too. So, why it matters. And I'm going to have Lindsay really tell you some more about mind matters, right? Mind
Yeah,
matters.
my mind matters.
Okay, mind,
Yeah.
mind matters. And so the reason why mental health matters is that good mental health help us to enjoy life, try new things, bounce back from hard times, and get along with others. When we feel sad, worried, or angry for a long period of time without help, it can be really tough. And it can be really costly because we are investing more in the anger, in the depression, and the anxiety and the worry than we are investing in our lives. And many people do that, believe it or not. So taking care of mental health is an investment. It's an investment in yourself. And we're going to be talking about money matters and mental health matters and how we can really make sure that we're keeping ourselves above water in both. And so I'm going to invite you guys into the discussion. And so, Lindsay, tell us about the May for You, Mental Health Month for you.
Okay, so hi everybody. I am Lindsay Mitchell. I am a school counselor. I am also a limited licensed professional counselor as well. I work with Detroit Public Schools at the moment. And I'm also a comedian by the name of Visionary Speaks, baby. So I did wear my comedy is therapy because that's also a part of therapy and
Yes.
doing the mental health work. Is knowing that laughter is genuinely a great way to help with mental health issues and things like that. But May being Mental Health Awareness Month, it's really just bringing to light the conversation about your mental health, making sure you understand that taking care of your mind, that's why I wear my mind matters shirt, because we do tend to discount sometimes ourselves, and self-care is very important when you talk about mental health. It's all about tuning into the things that you need, being honest with yourself, and getting the help that you need if you need it. So there's a lot of resources on that, but we can get into that later. But of course, I just love mental health. I love helping people through their
Yeah.
issues, especially our youth, our young people. They got a lot of mental turmoil going on right now,
Mhm.
and it is a mental warfare on our youth that is happening. So I like to be able to be the voice of the young people and be able to see both sides of the scale there on both being an adult, but also being able to empathize very highly with being a child and understanding how they may see a perspective differently than we see the perspective at this age. But I think it's once we bridge that gap, we're able to be better in tune with creating a better future for all of us.
That's true. I love that. Mike, what would you like to say about mental health and why it matters?
Well, it's amazing. My background, I'm a financial expert, a habit success strategist, and authenticity coach. So allow me to tell you that I just came out of financial literacy, talking about stress leads to the rest. And I come to them and I speak to them by experience. 25 years ago, I suffered with a bipolar depression disorder. And the first thing they want to do is put you on the medications, the long term, and even knows about lithium, Prozac, and then Prozac and Depakote. That was a lifetime sentence, but I got over that in 6 years just using habits. I had an awesome therapist that led me to understand the value in habits. And what I do is I explain to people the uniqueness of having a clue, a routine, and a reward, which is the foundation of the habit loop, and understanding that your habits will determine your level of success. Oftentimes, we believe our frustrations and all the things that we have are just something that'll go away. But understand that good habits and bad habits, they come in repetition. Whatever you feed into them, that's what you get out of it. So taking the time, building affirmations, what I did, I had a unique coach to allow me to understand how unique that was. And I help
Mm.
my clients understand that you can build your own habit matrix, just being true to yourself and understanding the power behind habits.
I think that is really beautiful. And bipolar is seen as one of the disorders that's very difficult to win over.
Mm.
And you were able to do that with a good counselor. I'm hearing you say
What an
developing.
excellent counselor. And
Okay.
I want to feedback on some of the things she said, self care. The other thing is the comedic side of it. When my therapist first told me bipolar, I looked at her and said, "You do know I'm a Gemini, right? So I have a Gemini and now I'm a bipolar. How are you going to deal with this?" But I had to take that in stride. And when I realized that something I had to do with that, I worked hard at it. And my therapist guided me to understand three areas that I needed to do. It's those affirmations and believe. And people think that they're silly, but they're powerful. When you
Hmm.
uniquely tell yourself, the mirror, or whatever you want to do, that believe you and the rest will follow, where you are the you.
Mhm.
And then believe in that you have to find that positive space. You that positive space where Betty and Lulu and all those negative people, you don't allow them in that space. You are actually learning how to live a positive life. And the last thing that she said is you have to challenge your negative thoughts. Because even now we always in therapy. We don't admit it, but we're in therapy every single day. When we can challenge our negative thoughts and we hear
Yes.
negativity coming out of other people, we can allow ourselves to challenge that and not be a part of it, to walk away from those things. And those are the things that helped me. Because I was in the era, I got the best job I ever had as an auditor in charge of the first casino that was being built. I took my medication and threw it aside, saying, I don't need this. I'll just take vitamins. I took those
Mm.
vitamins and I had a reaction. I actually passed out minutes before a meeting that I was supposed to meet people all over the world. I passed out being carried out of the casino. Now I'm
Wow.
worried about what people will say about me. So when I went back and my therapist greeted me with open arms and said, we can do this together. You
That
know,
is awesome.
yeah.
I love that. Anything you want to comment?
Yeah, I think it's just like understanding that mental health is not something that some of us have and some of us don't have. Because I know I've heard it a lot. Just being a counselor, I don't need no therapy. I don't need that. I'm fine. I'm good. It's just like, no, baby, we all jacked up. Like we are all messed up. When you come into the, just know that the original trauma that you ever have to the body is birth. Birth is a traumatic experience. You're going from a place that you lived in for 9 months
Yeah.
and being exposed to a very cold territory with a lot of bright lights and talking and all these things. Birth
Right.
is the original trauma. So everything that happens after that needs a little counseling, and especially in today's day and age in 2025, there is so much going on in the world, that everybody needs to really tune into their mental health and see a counselor. Even if you think you can't see a counselor, there are so many free opportunities to get mental health in all parts of the United States. So please reach out to your resources. Google, baby, is available to all of us. You
Yes.
can find a free counselor. You can find one that takes your insurance. You can find a counselor that's on Medicaid or
Have a
anything.
sliding
Yeah,
scale.
and a lot of
Yes.
counselors offer free counseling just as a side project because they know how much is needed and we don't want to get anybody in the process lost and not able to find that help because I told my dad recently, I'm like, Daddy, everybody needs to go to therapy.
Yes.
It's very difficult to live these days, and I think that just addressing it, the first step to any counseling situation is knowing you need help. That
Yes.
is the first step at all times. Know you need some help and when you're struggling. And that's something that people really do struggle with because we're prideful and we don't want to
Yes.
ask for help. We don't want to seem that, some people have even told me that going to a counselor makes them feel weak because it means that
Yes.
they had to reach out to somebody else
Yes.
for what they're going through. And it does not make you weak to go to counseling. It makes you stronger
Most
to
men.
go to counseling.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
lot of men, I've heard that constantly that I can handle it. I'm good. I'm strong. I'm like, you're not that strong. First off, you are only as strong as you allow yourself to be vulnerable and understand your needs.
Yeah. Yeah,
You know.
Mike, you were just going to say, and then we could close this segment out. You said most men, and can you piggyback on that?
Yes, absolutely. Because the one thing that I knew in being in group sessions or speaking with people that our weakness is a stigma that we don't want to hear. 6 million men a year become depressed or stressed. That's the stress leads to the rest. But building that or taking that, we allow ourselves to believe that we can handle it on our own,
Hmm.
and not having the therapy or not having or reaching out to people. We keep so much locked in and inside. We let the society dictates how we should feel and how we should react. And learning those concepts of just being free from that, it takes that commitment, the transparency, and the understanding that I need help and to go and
Hmm.
get that help. It goes a long ways.
Right.
And I know that I live by the quote of Maya Angelou that once the healing take place, go out and help someone or
Hmm.
somebody, she actually said. And those men that I spoke with, I can hear it in their voice that I need this help. How do you be so transparent? I said, brother, it was not easy. I lived
Amen.
that,
Hmm.
just to step out and talk about it. And I'm telling you that you have to find that way for your own self. You have to admit to yourself that you need that help.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
this
it
is
is.
some real good
It is.
information
Yeah.
because a lot of times you're right. People are trying to dictate what we need, like they know what we need, and they don't live inside of us. They're not with us every single day, minute, or hour, or night, and they're trying to tell us what we need. And I remember one of my clients saying, "Hey, I was talking to a friend of mine and they said, you don't need no counseling. Really? I mean, how do you know what they need? And you're
Right.
assuming what counseling is really all about. Or people would tell me, and you probably get it too, hey, I don't need a therapist. I don't need you practicing your
Yeah.
skills on me. And I say to them, this is actually how I talk,
This is
and this
my
is the way I
personality.
am. And so if I'm utilizing skills that I've learned that helps me to be healthy with you, then that's a plus. It's not a minus.
Hmm.
But people don't really see the pluses. There is a study out that says that as humans, we have between 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
out of those thousands of thoughts, 85% of them are negative and 95% of them are repetitive.
Yeah.
And so imagine repeating these negative things in your life. And I like what you said about the consequences of bad habits and good
Yeah.
habits, that
Hmm.
we can develop good habits to move us forward in life. And so I'll stop there in the segment because we need to make sure we get into this and
Hmm.
what we are here to talk about, and still talking about mental health, but you guys both for your careers. But thank you so much for having this open segment with me. Hopefully our audience have gained much information, and as my sister said, please Google, seek out
Yes.
counseling, seek out help, and make sure that you're getting the skills that you need to keep moving in this life. Because, like Lindsay said, baby,
Baby.
ooh, it is tough out here now.
It is.
I also want to piggyback on what she said. The most
Okay,
important thing is to laugh and enjoy laughter.
that
Yes.
is so
It's because
true.
that
It
was the
literally gives you
foundation.
endorphins that
It
make you
does.
feel better.
It
Yes,
does.
yes. And even though I will say this, and I laugh at Lindsay a lot because I'm in the school,
Yes.
Lindsay would sit up there and have something fun. The kids can be all just, like on the ceiling, just how do they say that? Swinging on from the
Yeah. They
ceiling,
be on the
okay?
chandeliers, baby.
Yes. And Lindsay would sit up there and throw something fun. And I'm like, okay, Lindsay, all right, this is really okay. And
Yes.
then the kids have fun, the
There's
teachers
a
have
method
fun.
to my
It
madness.
is. So I have to
Yeah.
admit that laughter is healing and it
Yeah.
is medicine. So, well, I'm going to start off with your because you sent me a very short, very good, brief,
Yes, I kept
brief
it short and
bio. So we
cute.
have
Real
Lindsay
demure.
Minchell, who is a LLPC licensed, limited license professional counselor and a school counselor for Detroit Public School Community District.
Yeah, it's just DPSCD.
Okay,
Yep, Detroit
school. She
Public
is
School.
extensively trained in mental health with a specialization in school age children. She has been working in mental health for over 7 years. And Lizzie is so young. I sorry, I was talking
I've
to
been in
Lindsay
here.
sometime. I'm like, girl, you're so young, and yet you have an old soul, just an
Yeah,
old soul.
yeah.
Okay,
I've
so
been here before.
yes, most definitely, definitely have been here before. So can you share a little? You shared some,
Hmm.
but can you share a little about what inspired you to become a school counselor?
I mean, the plight of the school counselor is similar with a lot of people. And you hear somebody say, I was already counseling my friends for free, so I wanted to get paid.
Okay,
That's
okay.
what a lot of us feel like because when I don't feel like you become a counselor if you are actually a good one. I feel like you are born a counselor. I
Okay.
think in certain ways you're always that one that the friends come to and ask for advice. And you go through the process of becoming a counselor and then you find out you're not supposed to give advice. But like
Yes, yes.
technically we're not supposed to give advice,
That's
but
right.
we become that person that people can rely on when you feel like um you can be a confidant. And that's where I started as a confidant. I was everybody's confidant. And then when I thought about what I wanted to do with my life, I thought about wanting to help people, in that way. And I know that I'm a great orator. I can speak well. I can speak the language of the people, baby. I could throw it up, have a professional dialogue, but then have a real down to earth, city Detroit girl. I'm actually a Southern woman inside.
The
So
Southern woman
I am a
inside.
Southern
All
woman.
right, all
And
right.
can't nobody tell me no
Well,
And
different.
what's your favorite dish to cook?
I mean, well, honestly, my favorite dish to cook is roast. I make a good roast.
oh,
Oh
Yep,
wow! All
your
right, all
pot
right.
roast, honey. But it's just I grew up, kind of in that mental space and being able to really tune into what I feel like I have this second spirit in me to be able to tune into what people need. I'm that friend to call you while you having the worst day of your life and be like, girl, how you doing? They be like, girl, I don't know how you knew. I didn't call for this, but what you going through, girl? Go ahead and tell me. So it's just like I just love having that experience, and especially in counseling. And I know you experience it when you have that click moment where you done
Yes.
said something that really clicked with the kids or clicked with the client, and you didn't told them something that they needed to hear. That's the best part of the job
Yeah.
is knowing that you made that connection, that you actually intuitively made them think outside of their own box and get them to think in some kind of different way.
Yeah.
That's so gratifying. I get the same kind of but different feeling when I get make people laugh on stage as a comedian.
Well, tell us more
Oh
about
yes,
that.
so I have double lives. I'm also a comedian. I started in comedy in 2020.
Okay.
I actually started in comedy where you couldn't even go outside and get on the stage,
oh yeah.
which is crazy work.
Oh,
But it actually opened up a whole new avenue for me because had I not started in comedy during that time, I actually opened up more doors for myself online than other comedians have done in their whole career. I
Okay.
actually did the Laugh Factory in LA first online, then I ended up getting invited back and doing it twice in
Okay.
person.
In LA.
In
That's
LA, yes.
awesome.
Some people in their comedy career never make it to the Laugh Factory in LA. It's one of those very historical venues in comedy, and I love what it does to just make people one. She and Dr. Hall know this. I'm super blunt, super
Yes.
honest. Even in my counseling career and with the kids, I'll tell them straight to the face, and you a fool for that. And you a fool. I'll tell them, and I'm very honest, and that's why I'm such a beloved counselor for the
Yeah.
kids because I don't fake. and I tell them the reality of what life is out here and what's waiting for you if you keep doing these type of behaviors. And I don't sugarcoat for them, but they also love honesty, and that's what I really
Yes.
want to stress to you parents out there. So anybody working with kids, stop lying to these kids. Okay, be honest with them.
Right.
Tell them the truth, because a lot of things that are going on at this stage is coddling, and a lot of the school system are just pushing them through, taking mediocre work. The kids are having trouble with reading and writing because
Yes.
you don't push them to learn reading and writing, and if they don't know it, they'll kind of just move them along, and that is irresponsible on our hands, because these kids are the future, and they, whether we like it or not, we gonna grow old and they gonna have to take over.
Neither one.
And if you set them up for failure like this, we're going to have a very tough world to deal with. I always said that the real pandemic is the babies. Y'all don't understand. Forget COVID, forget Trump, forget all these people. When these kids to get out here that can't read and write, what do you think they're gonna do? They're
Well,
gonna
let's
start
talk
coming
about that
after
for a
us.
minute
Yeah.
because I was going to ask you what is a typical day like for you at the school. But I will do that. But I guess one of the things that I'm so happy that you're saying that, and a lot of parents seemingly want they blame the teachers.
Hmm.
So let's talk about that because there's a blame game going
Yeah,
on.
it is.
Why doesn't my child know how to read? And teachers are saying, why aren't you spending time
Spending the
at
time to
home,
teach them.
to teach them?
Yeah.
What would you say to that?
I think we've had an adjustment with parents. My mother could never. I was taught that education was the
The
key.
key. That's right.
Yeah, I was taught, you whatever you want to do, and I was a very talented young lady. Okay, I could have been all on the Nickelodeons and Disney
All
channels
right.
a
All
long
right.
time ago. I
I
could
can see
sing and
that.
dance
Yes.
at a young age,
Yes.
and my parents never pushed that side. They was like, you can do all that on the side, but your education is the one thing you
Yeah.
can fall back
Same
on.
here.
And they did not let us stay home when we wanted to stay home. They did not allow us to come home and not do our homework. It was very, very intentional with us that education was going to get us further in life. And one thing I don't see as much with these new parents is that intentionality of prioritizing your job as a parent when you get home to instill more than the school instills. And that's why we have a very hard time with students not having great home training, because it's nothing like a lot of parents, they'll come up there and they'll complain, but it's nothing we can do in 5 days a week from 8:30 to, or even 7:30 to 2:30, that can outdo what you need to do at your house.
Right.
Because once they get to us, if they haven't been well nourished, if they haven't been taught, me and my grandmother used to read books outside of
Mm.
school. She used to give us writing assignments. We used to write the dictionary with her. If you're not doing that work, you're expecting to, basically you're expecting school to raise your kids, and that's not appropriate. Parents need to go back and actually start to do outside work. Don't just go over the homework that they give you. Also read other books to them and do other things with them and stimulate their mind and make them want to crave education. These kids don't crave education,
No, yeah.
and when they get there, they act like they don't crave education. And unfortunately, a lot of the school system has become a babysitter to these kids, because they get to school, they don't care about being there, they don't want to learn, they're just there because their parents dropped them off. And I know that verbatim because I asked the kid, are you just here because your mom left you here? And he
Mm.
said yes.
Mm.
He doesn't understand, and I have to then instill him how education connects to what he wants in his future. And that's when I make that connection. Like, I ask him, how do you want to live in the future? Like, what do you see yourself doing? And then when we talk about how do you get there, education is usually the tool to do so, even when they want to do the most mundane thing of saying, like, I just want to play sports, I just want to make it to the league, I want to do all that, I
Yeah,
just
I
want
just
to
want to
own a
make a lot of
business, I
money.
want to make t-shirts.
Yeah.
They all want the same. I want to get
I want to
famous
do
on
hair.
TikTok, and all, they all want the
Right.
same
Yeah.
things, but the method to the madness is, how do you get there? One, you can't make it to the league if you can't make it to college. A lot of them pick them out. It's very few people who make it out of high school that make it to the league
Yeah.
straight from high school. You usually have to be
Yeah.
able to qualify to get into a good college, or even a college with a certain level of sports team to be able to get there. And very small percentages of people have that ability. So it's just retraining their mind. And the saddest thing for me to have to do is to humanize parents to kids. And it's the scariest thing for me to
Now
have to
say
do.
that again.
So I'll say what that means. When parents are super reckless with their children, the children don't understand why their parents aren't that bookmark
Yes.
parent, because they see other parents that are there for their kids and show up for their kids, and then they put their parent, because every child that comes out for the most part puts their parent on a pedestal. My parent can do no wrong. One is because y'all also not being honest about your history
Right.
and your background with your kids, so they don't feel like you could do no wrong. So when you do wrong, it's like the worst thing that could ever happen to
Mm-hmm.
them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like telling them, I know that your mom is not there. I know that she's dealing with a lot with, alcoholism or whatever the case may be. But take the word mom away from her and just think of her as a woman, as a person who is struggling and trying to get through life like the rest of us and having ups and downs. But take the mom title off, because you're putting a lot of weight on mom. And if you think of her just as a person and see her struggles as that way, then maybe you'll have more empathy for
Yeah.
your mother. Because when kids get let down, it does affect them terribly.
Mhm.
and
Yes.
and and, and they think of, it's kind of like their hero died,
Yeah.
or their
Right.
heroes acting up in public.
Right.
And they don't want to live like that. And I have to tell them, okay, let's just make them a human, because
Right.
humans can make mistakes. Their
That is
mom
good.
cannot.
I was going to
Yeah.
So
say
true.
that
So true.
yeah, a lot of our kids are dealing with anxiety and they're dealing with depression, and they are overwhelmed by the smallest
Yeah.
things. Um, and so you're right. I think it's important though. When I was growing up, I craved education, but I craved it based on the fact that I saw what other
Yeah.
kids were doing, because my parents had third grade and sixth grade education, but my dad really was about education.
Mm-hmm.
He said no one can take education away from you.
Right.
My mom was about mother wit, get some sense. Okay, that's what you need to do, because I don't care how much I don't care how much education you get,
Right.
make sure you have some
And you need
sense.
both.
Yeah, you need both. And so I had both of those
Mm-hmm.
just in my household, which made me move from wisdom. Sometimes wisdom not understood, but still trying to move
Mm-hmm.
with wisdom. And so, what can you say? And then I'm going to move over to Mike. What can you offer to our parents and to our students and even to teachers when kids are struggling? How can we make them human,
Mm-hmm.
and seeing them as needing help rather
Yeah.
than badass kids?
Yeah, and they do think of, and I always separate the behavior from the person, because behavior can change, the person cannot. You know, you can change the behavior. So I don't tend to call kids bad. I don't
Amen.
like using that word. He's a bad kid. I say you made a bad decision. You
That's
made a
right.
bad choice, because that can change. And I think that one thing we have to do as just humankind, we need to be more patient with each other. I'm at that stage in the year, I'm not gonna lie, it's May.
Yes.
All the
Yes.
staff in the school is,
Yes.
we at our
Yes.
last wits. I didn't see I
Right.
didn't see some cracks in the chamber. Like, it's people are losing their minds at this part of the year, because you've been dealing with the same stuff all year, and it's
Hmm.
just, and it gets monotonous to the point where you're like feeling like I'm talking to a wall with this child.
Yes.
And a lot of the parents get to that point where it's like, what can I do? I keep doing the same thing, same thing, same. Then use a different approach. I
Yes.
think that one thing that I was talking to Dr. Hall earlier, I was like, if taking the phone away don't work, then you need to do some more mental warfare.
Yes.
Like, not every punishment is applicable to every child.
Yes.
Like, those who whooping don't work on every kid, and these kids I found are different. Okay, whoopings don't work on them very well. You got to get mentally in there. And I think for the most part, they're the type of generation that's all kind of like dark, and they watch so much trauma all the time. Like, literally, a kid showed me a cartoon she was watching on YouTube, and all the cartoon was just bunnies going around killing other animals. Like,
That's crazy.
they really crave dark energy. And I think what you have to bring into that is motivation for, like, the future. Make them want and crave the future. I do so many suicide assessments per year for kids.
Hmm.
Kid cutting is a big deal in middle
Yes.
school, high school. So it's just like making them have something to live for is the most important part. I try to really have conversations about goals. What do you want to do in the future? Not even far away goals, because a lot of them, unfortunately, see so much death that they don't even know if they're going to make it. I had a kid tell me yesterday, he was like, I'm probably just going to drop out after this, ain't nothing really going on for me. And I'm like, you think that at 12? Like, you think nothing really going on for you? I was like, you got a lot more life to live, but they really do feel hopeless. They feel like nobody's listening, nobody cares. And some of y'all parents don't know how to listen. You're constantly trying to be a dictator, and you're not being like an actual parent. We're not dictators. We're working in collaboration to get this child to the finish line.
Right.
But it's not like that. A lot of parents talk down to their kids,
Mhm.
and I understand, because sometimes they doing some crazy stuff, and I be like, baby, what is this? I always, when I see a kid doing something, I be like, what type of time is you on? Like, you gotta tell them, like, what you doing out here? But at the end of the day, if I want them to get to the finish line, I gotta meet them halfway. And you don't have to be like, they say, I ain't friends with my kids. I don't be friends. You don't have to be friends with your kid, but you have to parent your kid.
You do,
You
right?
have to, part of parenting is having a conversation, a collective conversation. And these kids, unlike when I was a kid, my mom used to say, do what I say, or because I said so.
Yeah,
That's what she
because
would
I
say
said
all
so,
the
right?
time.
Yes.
I'd be like, Mom, but why can't I? Because I said so. Because I said so. Because I said so. And to a curious child like myself, you can't do that, because I'm too curious for you to say
Right.
because you said so. I would rather her had told me the purpose of why she was doing what she was doing, and don't even, she ain't got to say it more than once because I'm a child. But for me to be able to understand it.
So what I'm hearing that what we really need to do, and I'm gonna wrap this segment up.
Hmm.
And thank you so much for expressing yourself. And I'm gonna have you back because you can do a whole
Yes,
segment by
honey,
yourself.
I'm
Uh,
telling you.
and just the fact that we have to invest in our children. We have to be sensitive to them. The children also need to be able to see their parents as human,
Hmm.
and teachers are at the end of their ropes right
Yes.
now, but that investment is so important. And I'm just want to encourage parents to, the best thing you can do is to befriend teachers
Hmm.
and let them
Absolutely.
become advocates rather than having coming up to the school with your anger,
Please.
uh, cursing them out, telling them, what you're not going to put up with, because that does not set your child up for success,
Hmm.
period. So, Mike, let's get into it with you. Okay. So, Michael Wynn is a habit success strategist, author, and speaker with over 35 years of experience in financial auditing, business compliance, and grant monitoring. During his career, his inspirations led him to get certified as an authenticity coach, financial literacy trainer, and fraud examiner, which is huge, to be accountable and consistent with habits. He is the founder and CEO of Wingate Associates LLC and Coach Win LLC, where he teaches consultants and trains both individual and business teams on financial literacy and professional development. Michael was a proud recipient of an outstanding financial literacy award from the Michigan Accounting Aid Society and is a NEA National Entrepreneur Association certified entrepreneur, as well as having other accolades. So, and Michael is also an author. He has two best-selling books: Habits Don't Lie, Seven Habits to Overcome Obstacles to Win, and The Habit Effect: Your Life, Your Money, that provides creative solutions on winning. So, welcome. All right. So, well, tell us a little bit about who you are, your story, and who you help.
Yeah, I touched on it a little bit before. As a financial expert, years of what I wanted to do, I had this desire. My great grandfather, who we saw as the most abundant person, had a farm, and we'd come out every summer. I said, had to. We need. My mother and father said, you got to go out and you have to learn. And we thinking we're going to have fun, but he taught us the in and out. He always would say, write the plan and work the plan. We didn't know
Okay.
that was like pulling up Johnson grass or moving equipment across the farm in the hot sun. But that stuck with me. And when I
Write the
thought about
plan and
write the plan, then work the plan.
all right.
And I thought about business because he ran the farm like a business. And when I got into business, I chose accounting. And as I went through the years of learning it, I took the challenge of frustration because a lot of times we learn that we want to get to the balance. Whatever it is, it could be nothing left over. That's the simplest way to look at it or understand it. Anything over, some people would say, I'm good. It's off a percentage or whatever. But no, I had to feel that I had to balance.
Okay.
And taking that in regards to losing sight on balance in life and what you do, I fell to my bipolar depression disorder, not knowing what was creating it, but ignoring it because I felt I was good. I was all good. My kids and friends saw some difference in me that I didn't agree to. My kids used to call me the Hawk, screaming and yelling for
Mm.
little things, pick up little things. But once I decided to see my doctor, I'm thinking it's just going to be a little stress conversation. And
Mm.
she informed me that I had to deal with that. So just dealing with that and then getting a position that I was in as I was advancing through my career, I had to make some decisions. They weren't the best decisions, but I made those decisions to modify my medication like I knew it all. And so that resulted in what I said. I came to work ready one day and, ready to meet these people because we were opening up casinos and I was the person leading the team for us to make those decisions. And
Wow.
I had my little bout with that. And so once I realized that I couldn't live like that anymore, I took it upon myself to learn that I had to do something daily. And not just that, as I was growing and I can communicate with my children because my youngest, my daughter's a doctor, we reflected back on how she saw me. And she explained because in high school, actually, she was writing a paper on depression. She always talked about being a doctor. It was first a vet and it was a doctor. And her paper on depression kind of moved me towards understanding that I have to do better. If somebody's just reading through this, how the stages of manic worked and what she
Mhm.
saw. She would explain to me, man, my friend next door and I seen one day, we was just shocked. We came home and you had like 46-foot trees out lined up like you was gonna dig them up and put them in, and we came back and you did. We
Wow.
and that
Okay.
process of how long manic works, it's like whatever frustration you have to deal with. Because at that time it was financial, and that's what made me understand how important habits were. Because I wasn't going to abandon my career. I enjoyed doing it.
Hmm.
So I took that to say that now I can help people understand the little things of their frustration. Because the average person that works in that field, they get stressed out. But I always say stress leads to the rest. How do you deal with your stress? And when I share with them what I went through, is to first be honest with myself that I was either taking on too much or I was moving in the wrong direction. And after realizing that I can take that same concept and tell people what is your end goal, what is it that you want to do? Because I can talk with people and they can tell me my first 5 years, if the average person have business or out of business within 5 years.
Hmm.
In 2 years, I have cost overruns and I've expended whatever I did. So you created a bad habit for yourself for two reasons. You're building this stress level, and now you're trying to do something to get out of it, and you're just digging a deeper hole. So
Yeah.
this is what you go ahead.
Let me just ask this question because I think it's real important. You said two things. That one, that you had to deal with yourself,
Mhm.
that you had to look at the man in the mirror, right?
Absolutely.
And that's very difficult for us to admit that something is wrong with us. And am I understanding you to say it was the behavior that other people were telling you that you were exhibiting that really caused, and your daughter really helping you to see yourself?
Absolutely. People on the outside can see you better than how you feel or
Mm.
want to believe you are. You know that something's going on, but she don't know what she's talking about, or he don't know what
Hmm.
he's talking about. But when you hear more of it, you take flight and you say, okay, I better really look at it. If they're feeling this way, then I'll do something about it. But yeah,
Okay.
they can see you, and that's what I took that action as far as I need to go and get the help that I need and hear from the experts. Not try, we go through this whole thing of trying to diagnose ourselves
Mhm.
Yes.
to make it easier, to make it comfortable, to make it feel exactly what I want. Because I'm saying, I can remember so well when I decided to go to Claire Ford and Henry Ford to say, go to her office, the purple shaded office, beautiful metal artwork she had and the
Okay,
fish
okay.
swimming in harmony. And I sit on
Oh,
that chase and I'm waiting for her to come back. I'm like, I got this. And she comes back to tell me, you are diagnosed with a bipolar depression. I think it's more on the manic side. And she's breaking it down. And I'm looking at her like, I know she ain't giving me my card to mental health. I'm not crazy. And that's what the stigma just for a man
exactly.
sets in. Like, are you serious? And then when she said lithium, I kind of knew about lithium. I watched this movie with Richard Gere in,
Okay,
and I'm
okay.
thinking like, is she serious?
Mhm.
And it made me like a zombie, and that's what dictated me from just saying I can't live like this. I'm going to do something. And the power, I always say, the power of being bipolar with a Gemini worked through on that day to get that job. I was the best thing ever. You didn't know nothing about
That's
anything I was
right.
dealing with
That's
because
right.
I'm going to get this job. In getting it, I knew that I couldn't carry on with that medication and that structure. So I'm now going to say I'm going to make a move. And I think it was called St. John Work, mood,
Yes,
stress,
yes,
or whatever,
yes, yes, yes,
and
yes.
started taking a lot of them to make up for the medication I wasn't taking. And I was just hurting myself because any medication in your body or system, it reacts
Mhm.
to anything. It can react to chocolate. It can react to anything. And it caused me to have this exhaustion attack. It could have been serious. But once I realized that, I said that, okay, I can be like this. I can, at that laying on that floor, I was so excited about my daughter at the time, moving forward, becoming a doctor, and all of the things that she wanted to do, and how I had to change my life. And once I got into that tune of understanding me, I know that I couldn't help nobody else until I understood myself. So that's what I did. Is I went out and I worked hard at going through the programs and listening and using those concepts.
That is hard, and I really commend you for that because to work on yourself. And one of the things that I even read, Abby, our cousin, he wrote about today, people say they want freedom, but they don't want to do the work for the freedom.
For the freedom, right?
And so you wanted freedom
I wanted
and
freedom.
you were willing to do the work.
Yes,
Mhm.
and before I did that work, that's when I decided to write Habits Don't Lie because
Okay.
I had to. Transparency is so hard, especially with men.
Mm. Yeah.
Yes.
So the book was in my heart
Why do
for
you
so
think
long.
that is?
I don't know. And somebody asked me that question. And they asked me that question to say, I said, I don't know, but I became free. I remember I had that book in my heart for a long time. And I watched the uh, motivational speakers and I watched everything and I connected with Lisa Nichols for some reason. And Lisa Nichols, mostly her clientele is women, but
Yes.
she had
Mhm.
a fabulous way of thinking. I says, I'm going to see her. And there was, in fact, there was a movement of men after we just took over in the way she
Hmm.
laughed about it. So I went in those 4 or 5 days, my book in my heart. And the last day, if anybody had that experience with her, that last day, you get out anything that's bothering you
Mm.
before you leave. You pair up with these people. And we were crying and we were at our moments of trying to find our way through something. That book that was in my heart. And it was my sister's birthday. I have a sister who committed suicide.
Mm.
That day was her birthday. So I said I had to put this book out. And Habits Don't Lie talks about it. There were 7 habits. I talked about visualizing faith. I had to see what I wanted. Not just success, but the faith is that I want to be free. So how do you see that? I had to visualize faith. I had to be real. That's why I had to become authentic. Authentic. I was going through this whole thing of being authentic. And I said, I'll work with Norma Hollis. She was an expert. I knew her.
Hmm.
I'm going to do this program and become certified in that area. And then no money. I'm an expert. I bankrupt 2 businesses at the time because I was going through my bipolar depression disorder. I was buying houses, I was making deals, and people popping up. I don't know how I made it happen. And I saw the downfall. So when I came out of it, that was my first strategy
I
was
do
to
want to
write about it.
say bipolar
Mhm.
are very people can be very creative. So you were in that
Mhm.
creative
I was
stage, and
Yeah.
totally. I
I'm
know that.
telling you.
And I had these ideas I would write down, and I was like, I don't know how I got through it. And then I had to target success, no help. I had to write about no help. And then the last two is to just win. Even though my last name was Win, I didn't know how to win.
Mhm.
Those small things that you're
Yeah.
supposed to celebrate. I had to really go out and celebrate the little things
Yeah.
so the big things can happen,
Yeah.
you know. And then I put that all together and I said, the last thing I want to think about that got me more is the think repeat. The think repeat process is whatever that worked for me, I had to keep moving in that direction. If it didn't work
Amen.
for me, I had to get rid of it. So I had to put all those things together and then be able to tell when people started reading, like, gosh, I never knew this because I lived a 27-year marriage. My first wife was only child, and I was abusive with language. You know, not as physical because my mother she would come from her grave any day.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that you say to somebody or not
Yes,
understanding
amen.
an only child because we both had our differences. But the thing about it is that I had to explain people, yeah, because you see us for 27 years and you think we a happy couple. It was
Mm-hmm.
not like that because we had issues and then I even had more issues trying to live that. So accepting how to move on after that, that was a challenge in itself.
I can imagine.
Yeah, and then right at the end of me trying to get over, which I know I did, my mother passed away, my brother passed away, my sister passed away a year apart each year. My mother passed
Mm.
away not knowing what was wrong with her for 15 days, and they said she had 2 days to live. And then my brother had a medical situation, the doctors, there was an
Hmm.
infection set in. And my
Mm.
sister, who was close to my brother, committed suicide. She was close to him. She had some other things going on.
Yeah.
So the thing was, am I over this stuff? But I was. Everybody was concerned about me, but I truly lived what I learned about how to establish a habit, which is a goal, and the goals is the results that I wanted. But that system, that habit matrix system, that process that led me to that was everything that I put in it. Now I'm going back to my affirmations every day
Mm-hmm.
that I'm going to get over this, who I am, and I have my space. I went into my little space and speak. I can remember Les Brown's thought is don't let nobody's opinion become your reality because I
Yes.
was
Mm-hmm.
thinking that I'm still kind of on the stigma side with mental illness, but I escaped all of that when I challenged my negative thoughts.
That's wonderful. Well,
Yeah.
tell us about, because we're running out of
Yeah.
time.
Yes.
But so tell us about your other books
Yep.
and your upcoming events. And then I
Yes.
want Lindsay to tell us hers.
Yes. My second book was part of the first. It was the second part of it. The habit effect, your life, your money. Now for people to understand, stress leads to the rest. So avoid financial stress, and then those foundational things that young people can know they can start a business just understanding the whole concept of budgeting, savings, and that different thing. So I have a concept now when I teach. I talk about the budget, the bat in the book. In the budget, that's a simple process because you can't get people out to listen to financial literacy unless you make it simple, clear, cut.
Mm-hmm.
And the bat is a swing at the bad credit, the bad things, the scams, and all that. Then
Mm-hmm.
I just came up with the book because I hear you talking about the Southern I was listening to when you talked about the dictionary. So
Mm-hmm.
you are from the South. My aunt was from the South,
Yeah.
and my aunt was a teacher. She came here to Detroit, and she sat us down and said, "I want y'all to write stuff out the
Yes.
dictionary." So that's the
It
Southern.
definitely
But
ups
my
your
aunt,
vernacular.
my grandmother had the book where she put everything in there. She would write when she paid the insurance man, or the insurance man
Mm.
come every week. When she write down who the person was, people need to know. Even wrote the numbers that she played. But the point was that I've been counseling people who some people go in there and have that transition, and no one knows nothing about them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The book is a legacy of comfort, but it also brings you together every quarter.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to share that information with your husband or your siblings or your children, they know what you have. It's telling you where you're going to put that
Oh,
at.
so they write in the book.
Yeah, they write in the book all
Oh,
their
okay.
everything they
And
do
what
each
is it
I love
quarter.
called?
that.
It's
Um,
called The Book.
the book.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a pre-launch. It's coming out on
Hey,
my
show it to the
birthday.
camera so they can
It's
see
Yes.
coming out.
it.
The pre-launch will be on my
There
birthday,
you
the
go.
23rd, and I'll
Of
be
this
on
month.
May. Yes,
May, yes.
and I'll be on the farm. It's especially
On the Vanna White.
especially talking about how important it is because each quarter is giving you that information. It's giving you
That's
quotes, giving
awesome.
you direction, and you're not just putting the information in the book. You explaining what it is and where is it,
Mm,
because we oftentimes don't share insurance
Yes.
policies and all that
that's
because we
so
don't like to
smart.
talk about money.
It is
But now
very
Yeah.
it brings
smart.
that connection not only to when I go because it's quotes about you leaving something in comfort,
Mm-hmm.
your direction, but it also bring you for a family roundup each quarter
Yeah.
to say
Mhm.
the value of putting this stuff
So
together.
tell us about your next upcoming event.
My
That's going to
next
be your book launch on May the 23rd.
23rd, and then I'll
And
be
where's it
in.
going to be?
It's going to be the pre-launch is just going to be online.
Online.
And
Okay. Okay.
I'll be in Arkansas on the farm,
Okay.
and then I'm a part of Next Gen, which is part of NSA Michigan. I'll be speaking in Plymouth. And
Mhm.
then in June 20th for Father's Day, I was selected to be a speaker at the Twisted Society
Oh, nice.
of Storytellers.
I want you to
And
go on
I
there.
will
Yeah, I'd
be on
love
May
to.
20th, which I'll be looking forward to. Tell my story on the mental illness side.
Yeah.
My topic is going to be Daddy's little boy. So
Okay.
very
I love
interesting.
And then
that.
what's coming up for you?
Before we get into, I just wanted to touch on that because, like, that's amazing that you have that because, I'm experiencing my dad had a stroke like a year or so ago. And I actually bought him a book online that just said, Daddy, tell me your story. I bought that book and I bought it for my mom as well. But having something that actually has all his records of what, because as women sometimes even on my side I don't know what everybody got going on their end if you don't, and when death comes it doesn't come at a date that you know, so it's just good to have that. So get the book is good.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
But what I have coming up, so of course I work in schools, so one of the mental health initiatives that I started at my school is My Mind Matters. So it's like this month we will be putting together events. I'm going to be getting with kids because I also multifaceted, very talented. I'm about to be choreographing dances with the students to like songs like Dochi Anxiety and songs that just talk about mental health issues so they can depict it in a way through different artistry. So one will be dancing, another one will be skits,
You
and
know
then
I like to
another.
dance.
I know we're gonna have to get you out there. We
Yes.
having a talent show for the adults too.
Yes.
So that, and then there's also going to be people to come and speak, and we're definitely going to invite you to, have a table set up for the kids on that front. So we'll be doing that all month. And I also do mindful minutes. So every Friday I get on the PA system and I do both Calm Classroom where I like get on there and just meditate with the kids over the PA, but then I also get them different tidbits about different anxiety and depression and grief, and we'll do it every like Friday to give them another mental moment so
That's
that they
great.
can
Yep.
learn about what to do in those situations and also know the definition, because a lot of kids throw words around. Depression get thrown around, anxiety get thrown around, all these things, but they don't know what that really means.
Correct.
They just know it as something to talk about how they feel. So that part, and then as a comedian on the Comedian Visionary Speaks platform, follow me on all the platforms. I'll be doing two Mother's Day shows. So I'll be performing at Planet Ant in Hamtramck on May 8th for Soap Prov, which is an improv comedy show
Okay.
um, that Tam White puts on. Very great show where comedians come up, we get prompts and stuff, and we have to improv comedy right on the spot.
And what time is that?
That is going to be, I think, at 8 o'clock.
Okay.
8 o'clock at the Planet Ant. And then I'm also doing a show in Battle Creek at Robin's Nest on May 10th, where I'll just be doing stand up comedy. I'm actually hosting. Judge Miles is the headliner. So I'm excited. Like, I've really been blessed in the comedy era, being able to do a lot of things that a lot of people with the amount of years that I have in it have never been able to do. So I'm very thankful to that. And I'm just letting God use me in the process.
That is wonderful. Well, I want to thank you, Mike,
Mhm.
Like I
for
say, you can reach me
joining.
at coachwin.com, either WIN or WYNN, and all my platforms,
Oh,
or social
great, great,
media
great, great,
information.
great.
Yes.
And you can reach you on all platforms too, right?
Yes, comedian visionary speaks, baby. She is the queen diva extraordinaire. But as far as counseling goes, school counseling goes, don't reach me. I got enough going on
I
there.
know that's right.
Like,
That's
don't come
right.
up to me, don't ask me nothing, don't try to find my school. I'm already
Amen.
full.
That's right. That's right.
My
That's
cup is
right.
full.
I love that. Well, you have joined us, and thank you so much on Exhale into Life with Regina. When Regina speaks, everybody listen. And we have been live streaming at WJZZ. I'm sorry, WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. God bless you, and have a wonderful day.